It's no secret that I'm a guy that likes to work out, and as a doctor I'm obviously interested in trying to stay healthy. So naturally I'm often asking myself the question, what is the healthiest way to work out? Well, currently it's about 9:30 in the morning and I'm working in the emergency department late this evening, so I'd like to get running first, and that's the first half of the answer. But I'll explain when I get back. So the healthiest way to work out is to run, but to also lift weights. Okay, I am a little biased, that's just what I do. What I actually mean is that most people's training should include some combination of aerobic and resistance work if the goal is to become the healthiest version of yourself. So in my training, I lift barbell weights 2 to 3 times a week, and on top of that I run a fair bit. In fact, right now I'm even training for an ultramarathon. But for you, aerobic training could be swimming or playing tennis, whereas resistance training could be rock climbing or bodyweight exercises. As long as you're doing some combination of these two activities, that's where you'll find the sweet spot for maximising your health and longevity as a human and not just an athlete. And I'll come back to why that is. But first, I need to go for a shower. So first, I think it's important to define what healthy actually means, because it can mean different things to different people and probably something different to us doctors too. A strictly medical definition of health is simply a lack of disease. So when I say that combining aerobic and resistance training are the healthiest ways to train, that's partly because of the positive impacts these two activities will have on your future health by preventing disease. Regular aerobic exercise, for instance, reduces your risk of type 2 diabetes, stroke, ischemic heart disease, certain cancers, depression, and even dementia, whereas regular resistance training can improve your bone density and your body composition, which also in turn reduces your risk of diseases like osteoporosis or the metabolic syndrome. Now obviously there's some overlap between cardio and resistance work. Take circuit training or high intensity interval training. This type of training is not only really efficient in terms of total training time, but is also really functional. That's because you're training a wide variety of often dynamic exercises which have immediate carryover into your everyday life. When I'm much older, I'll probably switch over to this circuit training, because when I'm 70 I'm more interested in still being able to do the things I enjoy, like hiking, gardening, carrying the shopping in from the car, and I'll be less concerned about my 5k or deadlift PB. That's what I mean when I talk about longevity as being a goal of my training. My hybrid training isn't going to make me the fastest runner or the strongest powerlifter, because there's always going to be a compromise when it comes to performance when you're combining two different disciplines. But what it does give me is a solid foundation of strength and power, as well as a good aerobic base, which is not only good for my health, but has carryover to other sports that I enjoy as well. But right now it's only 2 hours until my shift starts and I really need a coffee. So I'll come back to how often you should be training in a minute. My audience on YouTube skews towards a younger demographic, so most of you will fulfil this medical definition of health simply by means of your age, rather than any active steps you've actually taken to keep yourself healthy. When I was at university, I'd go out most weekends and drink to excess, and I had just a horrible sleep pattern. And although I went to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, this was to exclusively lift weights, and I never did any cardio at all. But despite this, I didn't really feel any ill effects. And if you would have looked at objective measures of my health, like my blood pressure or cholesterol, I'm sure they would have been completely normal too. But again, this good health of mine was more of a factor of my youth, in spite of my lifestyle. If I'd have continued this pattern of drinking to excess and remaining sedentary for the next 20 or 30 years, well, the negative effects would start to compound, and that's when big problems would arise. That's why I get a little bit annoyed when I see people online advocating their crap lifestyles or unhealthy diets and justifying it by saying that they got their blood work done recently and it was all normal. That's just completely not how it works. So I prefer a different definition which doesn't make health a binary state, because this sort of mindset isn't very helpful in the long term. I prefer thinking of health as a state of physical, mental and social well-being. This recognises that of course physical health is important, but this means far more than simply the absence of a diagnosed medical problem. It can include aspects such as your fitness, your diet, your body composition and your functional independence, but also your mental health, the quality of your relationships and your social and financial security. You can't really be objectively healthy by this measure, but on the other hand, no one's irredeemably unhealthy using this definition. But I find that this way of thinking empowers people to make positive changes to their own lifestyle without feeling like they need to delegate all responsibility for their health to a medical professional. Obviously, whether or not you run and lift isn't the be-all and end-all of your health. Your diet, whether or not you smoke, how much you drink, these are all also important lifestyle factors. And of course, not every disease is a reflection of an individual's lifestyle. We all have to play the genetic lottery. But increasingly, the more lifestyle-associated diseases like cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and certain cancers are the biggest cause of disability and mortality in the West. And exercise is a big part of keeping yourself healthy. Not only to reduce the risk of you developing these conditions, but also to improve the outcomes of people living with these diseases. Exercise is the miracle cure we've always had, and as doctors, we can sometimes be a little too quick to prescribe a tablet in the first instance, where instead encouraging positive lifestyle changes might be more beneficial or appropriate. No one's necessarily to blame here. Most doctors are not experts in sports and exercise, and that's me included. My job in the emergency department involves me assessing patients that come in with a specific medical complaint, so there's little room for preventative health measures. Like if I told a patient of mine complaining of crippling chest pain to lay off the aspirin and go for a jog, I'd rightfully be struck off the medical register. But tongue-in-cheek comments aside, empowering people to take their health into their own hands at an early stage can only be a good thing. So how much do you actually need to work out to reap the benefits of this hybrid training approach? Well, first off, let me eat my lunch, then I do really need to go to work, and then I'll get to explaining just that. So a busy shift yesterday where I finished at around midnight and didn't get many opportunities to get my hybrid training rant in, but I'm back again this evening, so I'll keep working on it. But with hybrid training in mind, reflecting on this last year or so since I started running or lifting, I've noticed some more immediate changes. I can definitely say that I've improved my body composition and I'm now holding onto more muscle and less fat. And as a result, my metabolic rate's kind of shifted up a gear, so maintaining this composition is really quite easy. I'm feeling fit than ever because of all the running that I'm doing, so as a result I'm recovering faster and I have more energy in the day. And now that I'm exercising on an almost daily basis and spending a lot more time outdoors because of all the running that I'm doing, it's done wonders for my mental health. And although some of the more long-term benefits of this hybrid training approach aren't immediately apparent, it's a fact that I'm improving my bone density now and my cardiovascular fitness so that in the future I'll have greater physiological reserves to draw on. So there's a satisfaction that I get that I'm feeling more in control of my health when I'm older. Anyway, because I finished late last night, it's already 10:30 now this morning, so I need to head to the gym before my shift again at 2. So I'm back from the gym, I've had my lunch, I've got showered, put on my doctor clothes, and made another iced coffee, and you're probably getting a little bit of a sense of my routine by now. Quite repetitive. But I did promise that I'd talk about how frequently you should be exercising, and the UK's NHS has excellent guidelines on this exact topic. So they recommend that you should be doing around 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise each week, something akin to a brisk walk, and if it's more vigorous than that, like a run or fast cycling, then you can half that to around 75 minutes per week. And when it comes to lifting weights, well, they recommend you should probably be doing around 2 different full body resistance training sessions each week, but they only need to be around 20 minutes in duration to start feeling the benefits. That being said, there has been shown to be a dose-dependent benefit to exercise in terms of your health and preventing disease, and these are just guidelines. So in essence, the more you do, the better. But the other way of looking at it is that doing something is better than doing nothing at all. So hopefully you realise that just because people on YouTube with the luxury of not having kids are running ultramarathons, that doesn't mean that that's the minimum barrier to entry. Fitness YouTube can be a great place full of valuable information and inspiration, but on the other hand, it can also skew your perceptions of what's normal and demotivate you. And as a result, it can be confusing to figure out how you should be training. I hope to be in that first camp where I might inspire some of you, not to copy my training, which is tailored to me and my lifestyle, but to get moving and figure out what works for you. To be honest with you, I started running and lifting to break the rut that I got into with my training. It wasn't specifically to get healthier. But what seemed like a really small change at the time has had a really big positive effect on me a year on, and I know that my hybrid training will continue to benefit me looking into the future. For me, I like to focus on short-term goals and switch my training up accordingly. So right now I'm preparing for a 100-kilometre ultramarathon in a couple of weeks' time. But after that, I'll probably ease off the running a little bit and focus a bit more on my weightlifting. And mixing my training up like this helps keep it interesting and keeps me coming back week after week and month after month. And it's not how fast you run or how heavy you lift, it's this consistency that's going to make the biggest difference to you and your health going forwards. So back to the point of this video, how should you be training to be healthy? Well, I hope that I've sort of helped to demystify what health actually means and what it doesn't mean. It's an abstract concept made up of millions of different variables, some of which you can control and others you can't. And for most average Joes out there who aren't professional athletes, just like me, combining resistance with aerobic training might be one of them. Right, well that's everything for today, and I really do need to head off to work. But if you enjoyed the video, drop it a like and subscribe for more running, lifting and general fitness content. And I'll see you again next time.